Hello, everyone. It is us, and we took last week off because Thanksgiving. And then I believe the week before that, we had some issues. I think technical issues prevented us from going, or was that the week you were sick?
No, I think it might have been technical issues. I was sick the week before.
Okay, yeah. So this week, I know we said we'd review High Guardian Spice, but then we remembered we're not going to be we won't have a show till probably the end of December, and maybe not even then. So figured, why not do Christmas themed and respond to Renegade Cut's video about Home Alone.
Yes, that this man has a very strange philosophy about what happens when people break into your house and steal your things.
Yep.
It's kind of like the bike cuck meme.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a ever heard of Shen Comics? He, he, he,
Vaguely.
he does like he does like web comics, these little short comics.
Ah.
He did one about how apparently he found out that his bike got stolen. Then he was bummed out about it. But then he thought about it, saying that whoever stole the bike is probably happier to have it than he is upset that he lost it. So he shrugs it off. And so everybody just made fun of him for calling him bike cuck.
Yeah, probably. But we've got 20 minutes, so let's get started now. We're not here for 6 hours.
It's quiet from my end.
1 second. Let me. How's that?
No, still nothing.
Oh, hold on. I might have done the dumb. There we go. There. I did the dumb and forgot to share the audio.
Womp womp.
Was that Wisp?
Yeah.
Hey, Wisp, how are you?
Yeah, welcome.
Ooh.
You're just in time.
I'm just a bit tired. I've been playing board games all day, which is good.
All right. So
what is this madness?
So this is Renegade Cut's.
Oh God.
This is Renegade Cut's Home Alone video.
There's a reason we only do Renegade Cut only once per month on Smart.
Yep.
Because his takes are so bad.
It's unbearable. If you do more of that, you just poison your brain.
But yes, so we're doing the Home Alone video, which is titled Home Alone: White Suburban Revenge Fantasy.
What? What's this to do with white?
I don't know.
Because only white people.
Because it's all white characters.
Property.
It's just dumb. It's already dumb.
I mean, yes, most of the
you could play you could play the whole movie Race Reversed, and it would be just as funny. It would be the same movie.
But he's going to make an argument about how you shouldn't be able to stand your ground and defend your home and your property.
Well, he's been a teacher in North and South Korea, so that might explain why he thinks you have no human rights.
Yep. Yeah, he's used to having people take things from him. It's perfectly normal.
You have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to property. You have a right to private property. That is a human right. And this is then proof again that socialists are opposed to human rights. Read the UN Human Rights Charter. It has its flaws, but it's pretty good, and it's based mainly on the US Constitution.
But all right. So let's get this started because I'm sure we all have things to say, and I don't know that I have the endurance for an EFAP episode.
Oh yeah. I'm I'm too tired to fully EFAP this. Do you have a link for the where are you streaming this?
I am going off YouTube.
Okay, can you give me a link in the Discord so I can put it on in my channel?
Link to the stream or link to
the stream.
Right.
So I can throw it around to 2 more people also.
Hold on 1 second. Trust me, I don't know what I'm doing.
Good. That's how fun begins. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba. Imagine elevator music now. I didn't mean to hold you up. I just wanted to share the link around.
No, it's fine. I just
I've got the YouTube link with me.
Oh, yeah. Can you send it? Because
sure.
Because I'm not signed in as.
Oh, thank you. The Academic Ale House. That's a nice name.
Yeah, I think the name is the reason why we don't get very much traction. I don't think YouTube likes ale in our name.
Probably. They're sort of doomed from the start. But
it's a cool name. But it's a cool
There's
name.
worse things to call yourself. Like you can call yourself the Lotus Eaters and get tons of views.
I know, right? But I feel like
that worked. Everybody, we all told him that this is a bad idea.
Yeah, the thing with the Lotus Eaters is I think it goes over a lot of like censorship heads because they don't really get it. But you put ale in front of them and just I know what ale is. Ale is alcohol, and alcohol is bad because it brings people happiness. All right, let's get started.
Home Alone was the origin of the kids rule 90s.
The intro is his best part.
Yeah.
I actually liked his original intro back when he was on Channel Awesome.
He was on Channel Awesome?
Oh yeah, that's how I first learned about him.
This walking sleep pill. this communist Valium was on Channel Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who came out of Channel Awesome who was not an insane douchebag?
Iron Liz and Micah Curtis.
Oh, really? Micah was on that?
Yeah, he worked with Blistered Thumbs. That was their shortly lived gaming website.
Okay.
I think according to him and Angry Joe just kind of butted heads and he got fired.
Okay.
Well,
that's a short list.
What happens when you produce better content than the big dog?
Yeah, Iron Liz is pretty cool, but I think she's just kind of done with the internet.
I think everybody has those moments where they're just done with the internet. I don't know that Home Alone was the origin of the kids rule kind of thing.
I know. Was this before or after Three Ninjas?
I'd rather say it's just the impactful one.
Yeah, I just recently remember that Three Ninjas was a thing.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. The movies aren't very good.
I think I remember that.
There's
But-
also Surf Ninjas.
There's one where Hulk Hogan plays a villain.
I have
Like,
very vague
actively a
childhood
member of the villain
memories
team, and
of something like that.
Yeah, I originally been rewatching Cobra Kai, and I just started remembering all those weird ass Kung Fu Kid movies.
Ah, good times.
Mhm. Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior.
Most of the stuff that came out of Hollywood never made it across the pond.
Nickelodeon, parents just don't understand corporations pretending to be kids' claptrap of Blank Check and Baby's Day Out, and a million other pretenders to the Home Alone.
Oh, you mean like socialists don't understand kids either? Or adults? Or economy? Or biology? Or food? Sorry, I just...
Just have
Just
have to get
that
it
this
out the
guy
way.
pretends to... Because this implies that he understands these things. When he
Yeah,
says they don't understand these things, this implies that he does understand these things. That no, he doesn't.
he has to lie to the audience, at least.
Remember when Wednesday Addams just murked her entire summer camp?
Yes, that's because Wednesday Addams is written to be that way.
Yeah.
Also, everyone in that camp deserved that.
Yes. And she didn't want to be there to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's smart enough to pull off a plot like this. So she does.
Hmm.
Because she has very little remorse. I don't think she's a psychopath, but she acts very close to one.
She just straight up burned them alive. I mean, I assume they survived much in the same way that no matter what Kevin McAllister did to the Wet Bandits, their bodies would absorb the pain and physical trauma and bounce back up like Looney Tunes characters. But at its heart,
Yeah, that's what that movie is. It's a
that-
live-action Looney Tunes movie.
Yes, it's also the source of, the comedy and all that.
Yeah, it's classic American slapstick.
Home Alone, which is a great movie, don't at me, is a story of family, of Christmas, and of the insulated world of white upper middle class suburbia, and the socially conservative revenge fantasy of trespassers getting legally shot to death with no consequences due to the incredible reach of castle doctrine.
So
You
no
are
one-
insane.
No,
you
socially
instantly went from 0 to 180.
Yeah, like
This is-
I hope you all hung on because we just took a hard left.
Yeah, this is how I would expect someone making a satire video about the insanity of communists. Like, nice thing, blah, 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 blah. Here you get the shock off in your face.
The horrible reality that only my interpretation of the events of this movie could come up with.
Yeah, and he even goes from simple sentences to suddenly wall of text
Yes, that
with,
movie.
with complicated words.
Yes, this
Yes.
movie this movie you like is good, but now let me tell you why it's problematic, and why you should think twice about enjoying it.
Let me tell you why might a pseudo-scientific religion that is totally not a religion has the ultimate truth, and why all the things you like are bad, and you should abandon them and just embrace my personal god, the god of socialism.
And fight against the white devil.
You mean Renegade Cut?
I mean, just I've always felt like that's socialism in general.
Isn't socialism a product of the white devil?
Technically, I suppose yes. All its original philosophers were white. You
So
could
in
argue
order to get rid
communism is
of
significantly more diverse because it has Chinese people that wrote it.
So in order-
manifestos for it.
yeah, well, they appropriated it, and it cost them dearly. So in order to end whiteness, we would need to get rid of socialism.
Yes.
Socialists, you have to abandon socialism in order to end whiteness. Do it now. This moment. And the world will be saved. It's too simple. It's too easy.
Okay, so let's let him expand on that
Mm-hmm.
on that wall of text, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's back up because that's a lot. In the United States, castle doctrine designates that a person's home is a kind of safe zone for the homeowner or renter in which
Yeah.
they can employ force, even lethal force, on anyone they deem an intruder or trespasser.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know where that comes from.
Okay, I don't see a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
know where that
agree.
comes from. My castle, my home, my castle.
Exactly. A man's home is his castle, and he should
Yeah.
have the right to defend that.
Yeah, you know where that comes from.
Where?
Old England,
Hmm.
where not even the king could enter your meager shack that is full of holes because it is deemed your castle, your personal space.
Yeah.
Not even he could bash in your door, for it was against the law, against the
Mhm.
very principle of being free men. You need that one place. Everybody deserves that one place. You could say that your home is your one safe space. And Renegade Cut wants to violate it.
No, Renegade Cut isn't going to be the one to violate. He agrees with those. He believes that your property doesn't belong to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It
Yeah,
belongs
but
to
he doesn't
everybody.
want you to have an actual, true, because they go on about it. I'm using this word deliberately. He doesn't want you to have an actual safe space. He only wants you to have the safe spaces that he allows you to, that have the rules that he makes. That makes him a dictator and a despot.
Regardless of whether said intruder poses any legitimate threat, if the homeowner said,
But you don't
And
know that.
whether a home intruder, that's the word we're using here. An intruder, a home intruder, poses a legitimate threat. It's an intruder.
Okay, so I was thinking
I didn't
about.
invite him. I have to invite a vampire 3 times before he can come in.
Okay, so
Vampires are at least
Look at
polite.
all right, so how many? Of you, so which of you guys have seen A Clockwork Orange?
Nope.
Honestly, never got around to it.
Well, there's a scene where
Psych horror is bad for me.
Yeah, there's a scene where the main characters barge into a house. They beat a guy up, and then they rape his wife in front of him. So I wonder, would stand your ground laws not apply to this, or not be justified?
Yeah, but even in the scenario which he's probably going to bring up with, like, you don't know their intent, and if there's an intruder in their house and they're just here for your stereo, well, you, the homeowner, you don't know that. This person could be there to kill you, or they could be there for your stuff. Why take the risk?
Yeah, the
Or kill you
main
and take your stuff.
reason why you have home intruders is because they mean you harm, whether directly or indirectly. There is no such thing as an innocent home intruder or a benign or well-meaning home intruder. That's the rarest things in history. Like, okay,
we've literally
grandma
created
has a breakdown and nobody else is at home and someone outside noticed it. Yes, that person then maybe someone breaks in to save grandma. Okay, different scenario. That's not a burglar. That's not a rapist. That's a hero. But someone who just gets into your house to I don't know, make an orange juice, that's already theft. Because that's not his orange juice.
Created an entire mythical figure about someone who comes into your home and leaves you gifts. Like, that's how ridiculous and off the wall that idea is to humanity. We've literally mythologized it.
Kinda, yeah.
as they feel threatened by someone on their property, the threat can be eliminated by any means necessary.
I'm going to give you to the count of 10.
You are aware that these 2 guys do want to plunder the place.
Yeah, like,
And they're not venerable criminals who need the stuff to feed their starving children or anything.
Oh no,
They
he's
just
gonna
want to enrich themselves.
see.
So this
with
is a really
he's
bad
got
example.
Renegade Cut's already way ahead of you. See, in about 15 minutes, he's gonna say, "We don't know their backstories. They could be doing this to feed their family."
If that was the case, their backstories would have been told to us.
Well, too bad. That doesn't give you the right to take my shit.
Also,
Get a job.
yes.
No good keister off my property before I pump your guts full of lead.
Castle Doctrine
Okay, that's very clear. That's very clearly someone saying, "I no longer desire you on my property. Go away."
It's weird.
And he's not. It's not exactly. He's not giving them. He's not just shooting at them, saying get. While he's saying this, he's saying you. This is your last chance. Get the hell off.
Yeah,
extends its
it's really strange. Like it's like what? So why do socialists hate cops so much? I mean, they need cops in order for their doctrine to even work.
They only hate them while they're not in power. Once they are in power, they will get rid of all the cops not in line with the regime, and then build a police force doing all of the things that they criticized about the old police force.
Yep.
itself so far.
They don't hate authority. They love it. They just hate. They just pretend to hate it,
They just don't like being
or
on
they
the
hate
outside
it
of
while it's not theirs.
Yeah, exactly.
They just hate everyone else's authority.
Because they can do a better job.
They think they do.
Walk onto
Or are we talking past each other?
No. I agree with you. They just have the mentality that they think they can do a better job.
Uh-huh. Sheer fucking hubris.
and into their garage to talk to them, completely far that
Property before I pump your guts full of lead.
Castle Doctrine extends itself so far that you can walk onto someone's property and into their garage to talk to them, completely unarmed, and the homeowner can kill you in the garage without legal consequences.
Not true.
Not true. That's definitely not how that works. Castle Doctrine you have to prove that there was a potential for threat. This guy walking openly onto your property unarmed and you becoming aware of that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't Castle Doctrine wouldn't apply there.
Yeah, that would allow you to lay traps for people to walk into your gun. And if you make if you make the claim that Renegade Cut makes here, and all the states in the US at the very least have different takes on this, cite the one that does it the way you claim. Otherwise, this is just hearsay, or rather, it's propaganda.
But even still, he could have been specific here. Like, okay, so this seems like it was a scenario. What happened? Did the guy that was shot, did he get off or did he go to jail? Like, was there extenuating circumstances? What maybe, like, this is the thing of you just being like, well, you could do this thing, but you can't. You definitely could give examples of Castle Doctrine being applied. Far-reaching, but you don't, which implies that either you didn't find anything or you didn't actually do any research. You didn't. Well, let me correct the first one. You didn't find anything that supported your narrative, or you didn't do research.
This infamously happened in Montana. The homeowner was not threatened, but he used Castle Doctrine as an excuse to legally kill the victim. See, the
People
homeowner
use all excuses they can in order to get away with something sinister.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just because he used it as an excuse does not mean it worked.
had a grudge against him for allegedly sleeping with his wife. Castle doctrine was just the excuse, but it completely protected him from prosecution.
Did it though? I'm sure if this isn't a current court case, or even if it was, there's surely a local story, a news clip you could play, a, a court record, something along those lines that you could just flash up on the screen right now instead of B-roll of cops at a crime scene.
Many states in the US have strengthened these conditions by creating a stand your ground law, which is effectively castle doctrine for anywhere else outside your home. Stand your ground laws establish a
Okay.
right by
Okay, stop. Okay, so I'm currently looking up like an incident with a Montana shooter that involves Castle Doctrine. I don't know if this is the one because he didn't actually apply any context. Apparently, the first result is a guy who was found guilty.
So he was found guilty of murder,
Well,
or at the very least manslaughter.
well, it might not even be the same person, but at least shows that it could still happen anyway.
Like
It just
Castle Doctrine. This is why I don't think he did any actual research on these laws, other than just being like, "Oh, these are the duty to retreat states, and these states have stand your ground and Castle Doctrine laws. Oh, so they're bad." But if you actually do the research, these are very, very these sort of legal defenses have very specific context in which they work. Like you have like self-defense is a hard thing to prove because you have to prove that the other person was a legitimate threat to your life. This is why this issue is a little bit more complex than you would give it credit for, Renegade. It's not just, oh, someone is on my property and I don't want them there. Bang, bang, they're dead, and I have nothing to fear from the law. Well, it's some stranger is on my property and I don't want them there, but they're not posing any threat to me, so I need to ask them to leave. There's a difference between the guy walking up onto the property openly versus breaking into the property that was actively being kept from him.
by which a person may defend themselves against threats or perceived threats, even to the point of applying lethal force. Now, everyone has a right to defend themselves, but stand your ground laws establish that even if you could easily escape, or even if you don't have to kill the person to end the threat, you.
So are you so the background footage here, are you showing that to say stand your ground laws are bad? Because in this sort of background footage, I would say that this is excellent example of why we need stand your ground laws. This man, one guy is,
or perceived threats, even to the point of applying lethal force.
so one guy's
Now, everyone has a right to
standing
defend
there.
themselves, but stand your
He's talking to someone.
ground laws establish that even if you could easily escape, or even if you don't have to kill the person to
And
end
then this
the
guy
threat,
comes up
you
and shoves him for no. He wasn't doing. The guy that was shoved didn't do anything wrong. He was just having a conversation. He might have been angry or yelling, but that does not give you the right to go up and shove him.
still can, for whatever reason, and never be prosecuted. In simpler terms, the difference between self-defense and stand your ground is that self-defense must be done when necessary, but stand your ground permits you to defend yourself with lethal force even when unnecessary.
But neither of these are bad or wrong. So let's use this newsreel as example, shall we? In this context, if this man was in a duty to retreat state, what is he supposed to do? He has been shoved, he is on the ground. And his job in that moment is to leave the situation. But he doesn't know if if the people involved aren't going to keep attacking him. So his job is to get away, but he doesn't know what everybody else is doing. So in this case, it's better that he simply err on the side of caution, draw, and get everybody away from him so he can leave that scenario.
If you claim you were threatened,
I don't know who this is.
sometimes even if you started the conflict by, say, arming yourself with a gun and tracking down an unarmed teenager who wasn't doing anything
Is
wrong.
that George Zimmerman?
Suppose so. I don't know who that is. If it is George Zimmerman, in that case, then I'm sorry, but that case gets a lot more complicated. You might want to, not just follow the narrative on this one.
Yeah, I think that is George Zimmerman.
Hmm.
Which didn't the guy he shoot try to attack him first?
Yes.
I can't tell if these people are just liars or just downright stupid. Can never tell.
Little column A, little column B.
Yes.
You still with us, Wisp?
Yeah. Wisp died from cringe.
Yeah.
Probably won't be convicted of anything. You might even use that notoriety to become an even bigger piece of shit, the likes of which are only told in campfire stories to children. The conditions of the stand your ground law depends on the state and the wording of the law, but they all operate in a similar fashion.
But if each state has its own individual interpretations, then how can you say they all work from the same general principle? If each one is different and the conditions surrounding it are different, then how can you say they're all the same?
Now, some places in the US don't operate on strict castle doctrine or strict stand your ground. This is commonly called duty to retreat, and it works like this. You can still defend yourself if your life is definitely in danger, but if there is a reasonable opportunity to avoid killing someone, then you can't just decide to kill them anyway. This seems like
It should not be a duty. It should be an option explored, but not a duty. Because that just means that the criminal has more rights than you do, and more freedoms, and more protection than you do. So just be a criminal, be a bully, take away stuff from people. They are not allowed to defend themselves, according to Renegade Cut.
And according to the law in certain states, because
yes, it's unconstitutional and it is against human rights.
Way the law should work, but in the US, only a couple places operate this way. The states in the purple operate under both castle doctrine and stand your ground laws, so, most of the country.
All right.
Interesting that the two worst places on the planet have very loose castle doctrine and stand your ground laws.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, and hey, it looks like Renegade Cut's home state is one of those duty to retreat states.
Vermont or DC.
Oh wait, never mind. Never mind. Sorry. Baltimore's in Maryland.
Yeah.
If Renegade Cut had anything of worth, and someone came by and just wanted to take it, he would have to stand aside and just let them take it.
The states in blue operate under both Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground laws, but in these cases, even in your car. The pink states operate under Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground, at least in practice, and the peach states have Castle Doctrine, but not Stand Your Ground. There are only 2 places in the United States of America that operate under the significantly more reasonable duty to retreat.
It is not
How-
reasonable. It is completely irresponsible and irrational. It is Oedipal nonsense that only tyrants would evoke in order to get a populace that can not and will not and is not allowed to ever complain about its government. Whoever has a duty to retreat law needs to be, and that's DC. That's your capital.
Yep.
Any state that has this law, this rule, is unconstitutional. And if your capital has that law, that tells you a lot about what your government thinks of you.
Vermont and Washington, D.C., so only one state and the District of Columbia. Castle Doctrine on paper might be about your safety.
No, Castle Doctrine in almost every aspect is about my safety, the safety of what I have earned, as in what I have spent time and my own earnings to either purchase or, have acquired through gifts. And it's to defend myself and those I love.
Yeah, and your car is an extension of your home. You can ask any German what he thinks of his car. If you damage a German's car, that's when you see some very, very old type of wrath come back up.
But it is so broad and far-reaching that it can be exploited, such as in the case in Montana.
But how? Like, again, if you truly had a significant enough example that showed Castle Doctrine to be so vaguely interpretable that people can just actively get away with murder, you would be showing them.
The thing is, Renegade Cut is a coward, so he doesn't want anyone to look better than him, to have more of a spine than him, which would be any spine at all, because that would remind him of how much of a husk of a human being he is, and he can't stand that. A lot of what the socialists do is jealousy driven. This is one of those things. I think it is an element of it. It's not a main element, but I think it is a part of what's driving this. The main part is that I see is always it's okay when we do it, because he knows he's on the side of people who want to harm others, who want to take away property.
And that's mostly because they don't actually have any property of their own. They don't really,
lots of criminals have property of their own. It's just the stuff they took away from others.
Yeah. They haven't ever really earned anything in their lives, so they have to take it from others.
Mm-hmm.
Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground laws exist partly due to the socially conservative, violent culture of the country.
Yes.
Violent.
You mean Antifa and BLM?
Well, to be fair, the robbers are the ones who tend to be pretty violent. We're just being violent to defend ourselves.
I wouldn't even call that violence. But I don't know. I feel like the socially conservative people didn't literally create an insurgency in the summer of last year. I mean, I don't know.
There was barely a response to it. If America was the gun nuttery that it is displayed as,
Yeah,
a lot of socialists would be dead now.
Yeah, we would have
Thousands of them would be dead.
Like,
instead, they stalk around, armed themselves, waving around their usually illegal guns, with no gun training, no gun safety training at all, and then complain when some of their pedophiles, wife beaters, and burglars get shot in self-defense, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, the case of the century so far. I think the Maxwell case is technically supplanting that, but since we don't get coverage of it, the most covered case was the one about the man who defended himself against 3 psychopaths, and who lived by the creed of what was it? Fuck around, find out, or something like that.
That's a good creed to live by.
Yeah, and they found out. They fucked around and they found out. And those were nice people.
No, but
They were aggressive. And they had no
remember,
remorse.
They
had no good motives.
But they were defeating capitalism by burning small businesses to the ground.
Oh, right. Defeating capitalism. That's why socialism always ends up with Jew extermination programs. That wasn't just the Nazis. There was the Soviets did that.
Oh yeah.
Just as well. They had their own Jew extermination programs. Because they think that, well, we want to defeat capitalism. Who controls the banks? Who makes all the money? Who is the human manifestation of capitalism? Oh, Jews. So in order to defeat capitalism, we need to exterminate the Jews. That is what socialists think. That is why they always turn on the Jews. That's why they are anti-Semitic. That's why the Labour Party of Britain is anti-Semitic to boot. It's not that much different in Germany. They always act as if they want to protect the Jews, but in reality, they despise them.
Because no matter where they go, the Jews do well for themselves. You know,
well, they more likely do well for themselves. That's
it.
Because they are very industrious people with very high. They hold high standards to themselves.
Mm-hmm. They're guided by very strict, very self-affirming. I guess that would be what you would say. But they're guided by very firm principles. Their religion imparts to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they. Okay. Kellernis Alfaro. Oh, what do you mean? These statements need more context. But again,
I'm sorry, I got lost a bit. It's I've had a long day and little sleep. Go on.
But he's saying, I wish it happened. Yeah, not with movies right now and shows. Oh, hold on. That's not what I want.
Context?
Yeah,
Everyone
I'm asking for a little bit more context.
wants to be a murder hero. The man.
No.
What? No. Renegade Cut, that's projection on your part again. Because it's Antifa that always fantasizes about killing all the fascists.
Punch a Nazi.
And the fascists is everyone who's not in the side of Antifa and marching with them. Which means that Antifa is the real fascists here. They fantasize about killing people.
Beard who drives around in a massive truck with tinted windows, not only prepared to defend himself with lethal force, but hoping to defend himself with lethal force.
No,
You're so wrong on it. If Sarek had time right now, I would ask to invite him because he can talk about this topic very well. But he's in a D&D campaign right now.
So he's having more fun than us.
Yes.
Hey, I'm having fun.
Well, you're a masochist.
But yet, oh my gosh, the people that collect guns and drive around in their Ford truck in their lifted Ford trucks with yee on the backs, heck, are
You know, if you
all
live in a
being
rural
so
place, you
eager
need something to transport
go.
your groceries, and because you don't just Renegade Cut, you privileged city fuck. When you live in a rural area, you don't just go down to the supermarket and buy your bread roll and your brick of butter, your butter stick, and the slice of salami. You buy food that lasts for a month or two. You need a truck for that to haul that over.
Mhm.
And the big markets for some of the of people out there, they're 100 miles away. So you don't just drive to the supermarket every day to get your daily groceries. You do your monthly haul. You need a truck for that. Then you live out there. Police is not going to come in time if something bad happens. You have wild animals. You have a gun with you. Because the police will only come to, okay, this is to clean up the scene. Take notes. Take evidence. But if the threat is immediate, police not going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Because they literally can't. The infrastructure isn't there. Oh dear.
The man who walks into a restaurant or pharmacy with their guns exposed, hoping people will comment on them, hoping to start a conflict.
That is, wow, that you are paranoid.
Wow.
You
yeah.
are completely insane and paranoid. This is slander.
So being able to having the right to openly carry a weapon wherever I want is me wanting conflict, me wishing to engage in conflict.
Is he aware that concealed carry requires a higher level of permit?
I don't think he would be, but even then, as of September 1st of this year, you could open carry at a federal level.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You can't walk into a school with the gun strapped to your thigh, obviously, but you know.
How could that happen under Biden, who wants to take away all the guns?
It was a ruling before Biden got into office.
Ah, it's leftover from the old administration.
Yes.
Interesting.
And since it came down from the Supreme Court, Biden can't really do anything about it.
Nice. So there was a Second Amendment thing, I guess.
Yes.
Very nice. The only thing that stands between you and liberty is the Second Amendment. As sad as that may sound. But if that is not in the way, tyrants like this socialist, I can't say it. There's no nice word for this. That's just I only have horrible words for this guy and those like him. Tyrants like that, and spineless, cowardly, slimy, decrepit tyrants like him, and his wife-beating, raping, pedophilic ilk, which is rampant on his side of politics. Like to a degree that the Catholic Church would blush. They would just waltz over everything. They would waltz over you. Because when you do not have the Second Amendment as the bastion of freedom of speech, there is no freedom of speech left. Then your country turns into nothing else but Soviet Russia, Maoist China, Castro's Cuba, East Germany, and all these other wonderful places where the people are not allowed to defend themselves. And the government is always right. In Germany, in East Germany, the Socialist Unity Party had its own, what do you call this, anthem. and the chorus of it went, the party is always right. It's not satire. That was their anthem. Socialism is tyranny, always. And after it fails, they always say, oh, it wasn't real socialism. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. Give us another chance. We never had a real chance. And then they just do the same fucking shit all over again. And then they give themselves new names so that you don't think that they're socialists, but they are, like the Democrat Party of the United States. And I'm not making this up. If you don't believe this, because most people have never heard of this, sorry. Look up an organization called Socialist International. It houses all the left parties around the world under the same agenda, to build an international socialist state. They do want a one world government under socialism. There are other forces that want that, like certain religions want that. It's how they think, oh, we get world peace if we rule everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's one way to get that, sure. It's just very bloody. And it's not a very nice world peace, you could say. It's essentially just a war between the people and the government. And in 2016, Socialist International had an offshoot because mainly financial reasons, and due to a German social democrat, Sigmar Gabriel, who created an offshoot of it called the Progressive Alliance. You see, these words keep coming up again and again, and a lot of members followed into the Progressive Alliance. Some parties, and there are terrorist parties in that. Look up, the lists are still up on Wikipedia. They may not be forever. And the Democrat Party of the United States is part of the Progressive Alliance. It's a socialist party. You are not part of Socialist International or the Progressive Alliance if you are not striving for the fourth or fifth international, which means building a worldwide communist state. Democrat Party of the United States does not have the interest of the American people at heart, but to build a worldwide socialist state. It doesn't give a shit about Americans. It hates Americans. It hates the American way. It hates the American principles, because everything that stands for liberty, and it includes the Human Rights Charter, is in the way of socialism. If you ever read the Human Rights Charter, article for article, and it's not a lot, it's just 30 articles, very short text, like usually 1 or 2 lines. Socialism openly stands against almost all of them. One of, and this is the most obvious one, articles, I think it might be 17, I'm not sure off the top of my head, articles of the Human Rights Charter is that every human being has the right to own property. Socialism cannot be for human rights, and it always says it is, whilst being against private property or any sort of property. That's being against a human right. And I'm starting to talk in circles, so I don't want to bore you.
The truth is, nobody buys anything without the intention of using it.
No,
Wrong.
you can just buy it because it looks cool.
I can agree, but I can agree with the idea that by and large you purchase something for use. But what you put that to use for is entirely different. It does not mean that you're some sort of raging insane psychopath. Like, I can go buy lie. That doesn't mean I want to throw acid in someone's face.
And yeah, I have a knife. I did not buy it with the intent to stab somebody.
I can go buy fertilizer. That doesn't mean I'm gonna make a bomb. Like,
Or sword.
just because I can buy something and put use to and use it does not mean I'm going to use it to harm others.
Yeah, if I buy a bow and arrow, that doesn't mean I want to go hunting or shoot at people. Or learn martial arts doesn't mean I want to beat up people. Maybe I can learn it for the art itself, to master techniques, to improve myself, to be able to defend myself and others from harm.
Oh yeah, that's something I wanted to bring up earlier. If I study martial arts, does that mean I'm looking for conflict? I'm inherently instigating conflict because I have learned the ability to cause another harm.
Yeah, if your dojo has any worth to it, it will weed out such people very early on. Identify them and throw them out, because you can smell those people 5 minutes in usually.
Lethal weapons. Another reason these laws exist is because the US places a great deal of value on personal property, even at the expense of human life.
No. Personal property is a thing socialists made up to differentiate between, to make an imaginary differentiation between private property and something they call personal property.
Yeah, like
it's the same thing.
It's a tool they use in order to separate the individual from their property. Like, the property itself is material, the individual is not. And socialists don't work inside the immaterial. They can't. Because in the immaterial you have things like you have ethics, morality, principle. Well, these are things that play factors into society as a whole, but socialists are purely material. So because just because a CEO or a company provides thousands of jobs across the nation to people, well, because they are a CEO and because they have like a 6-figure or yearly income, they're automatically bad.
Is your stereo more valuable than a human life?
Yes.
It's more valuable than your life.
It's more valuable than the guy who values his life less than my stereo. Yes.
Like,
the guy who wants to steal from me doesn't value his life much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because that's not about him trying to survive. It's about him enriching himself. If he just wants to survive, there are other ways. You socialists, you always talk about soup kitchens and more government handouts.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that enough?
Ow.
That is so much more than enough to survive. I live on that because I hate to say this. So I am officially severely disabled. I am officially unable to work. I get government handouts. It is more than enough. You don't need to steal if you get that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you, unless you're an addict, but then you can't use your money responsibly anyway. But yeah, so it is more than enough to survive. There's no need to steal. So if you think you need to, no, you don't. You don't. You just want to enrich yourself. You just want to make more than you already get.
It's simple greed.
Yes. Greed, envy, jealousy. That's what socialists are driven by. Just like many criminals are. It's maybe why they defend them so much.
Apparently so.
I'm unaware of that man's thoughts, but I feel like Renegade Cut is equally as unaware as I am.
And that brings us back to Home Alone. Aha, I knew we'd get back there.
Are we sure? I mean, we're 5 minutes in.
No,
so...
not really. You're not making any sense, Renegade Cut. And you want to make a video about that, so why? So of course you would know that you would get back there because you make the video. You fucking hack.
So, Home Alone, which
This
a
is what you feel smart about.
Ooh, this was not a good moment to pause.
Don't at me, really plays up that revenge fantasy. A revenge
No, what? No.
How? How is this a revenge fantasy?
I mean, they didn't. They're.
It would be a
anything yet.
revenge. The desire to be the desire to be mildly wronged. What? So that one can exact a disproportional response for violent satisfaction. Renegade Cut, you're projecting again. Are you talking too much with your borderline friends? Because borderline personality disorder, they have revenge fantasies. And they usually have it for things they make up or that they dream about. What you're telling here, a revenge fantasy does not require a desire to be mildly wronged. Where did you get this nonsense from? Citation, please.
But even working within this definition,
and this doesn't apply.
Like,
there's burglars who want to get in and they want to harm a little kid, for fuck's sake, and you call it being mildly wronged?
If he had done this to his
you child abuser.
Like, if Kevin had done the lay out the traps and do all this to his returning family because they left him there, that would be a revenge fantasy.
Yeah, or if you would go after the criminals outside his home, there would be a revenge. Then it would be revenge. But even then, what Kevin does is only justice, not revenge. And he's a kid. We can expect him to not call the police because he's dumb. He's resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't need to expect him to make all the smart decisions, all the smart moves, all the reasonable moves.
But Renegade Cut's going to argue that he should have.
Yeah, because Renegade Cut thinks that people get out of the womb and are instantly super intelligent, responsible people with agency and common sense. Because he thinks they can give consent to anything, that they should vote. And if they can vote, well, then they can give consent to sexual intercourse, can't they? It all leads down this road. Socialists think children are so superhuman awesome that they can give sexual consent.
Because they operate on the same level. Like that was the thing. I think when we talked about Red's fridging video, like her interpretation of love, love, it was completely juvenile.
Yes.
Right? And you sort of see that a lot with leftists. They operate on a very, very low level of thought processing. Like,
yes, this is why I talk about narcissism so much, because narcissism is essentially emotional. Well, I can't say the R word. That would be medically appropriate, by the way. What it is that they're stuck in that developmental phase. They never got up past it. So you accurately describe the same thing that I'm talking about all the time. That they cannot think past this very basic manner. And they see that reflected in all these children because they think exactly like them. That's why it's actually good. It's actually a good connection. That it's because of that they think children can give consent, because they think no better than they do.
Mm-hmm. It's also why they try to indoctrinate children young. Because children outside of them can achieve that higher level of thinking, but if they stunt it early, everyone operates on the same level and they can manipulate, and everyone can be easily manipulated, and nobody has to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy is the desire to be mildly wronged so that one can exact a disproportional response for violent satisfaction. Kevin McAllister is accidentally left home.
You're comparing Home Alone to America History X.
Wow.
Okay, a kid defending his house from burglars versus a white supremacist picking a fight with a black dude from a rival gang.
Was on vacation to Paris over Christmas. Harry and Marv, collectively the Wet Bandits, are cat burglars who rob from the rich.
I wouldn't say they rob from the rich. We only see them rob one house, i.e., being this one.
Yeah, they just chose the wrong house.
They picked this one, and they say it's because, oh hey, it's the biggest house on the street. But we don't see them rob anyone else, so they could just as easily hit poor neighborhoods.
Yeah, it's not like it's some kind of. It's not like they're trying to get revenge on the upper class or anything. They're just doing it because they have nice stuff.
Yeah, you know what? Personally, I don't understand this whole burglary business because you steal all this stuff. So if it's not money, because the usual Hollywood burglar just steals random stuff that's standing around. So you have to carry all of that, like you're moving, and then you have to turn all of that into money. You have to liquidate all of that somehow. That's a lot of work.
Take it to a pawn shop.
Can't you just get a normal job? If you're that resourceful to pull all of that off, can't you set up an actual business?
These are the questions. And this is why we're not criminals. Because we look at it and say, all the effort I'm going to go through to do all this, and then I'm going to probably end up getting caught at some point, having to serve time in jail. Well, meaning I won't be able to get and won't be able to achieve anything. I mean, really, because I'll have a record. So I'll be stuck forever in minimum wage, low paying jobs. I was in, hey, it was almost like it's not worth the effort. Because the cost is too high.
They're the bad guys, I guess.
You would guess.
You guess
that these are the people that break into someone else's home purely to materially enrich themselves.
I wonder whether he has watched the movie, but I'm already. I think Renegade Cut is a bit of a psychopath in his own right, anyway.
Well, I assume this is just meant to be a vain attempt at trying to be funny. I'm a socialist and I hate rich people. They're stealing from rich people.
They're just redistributing the wealth to themselves. They're basically Robin Hood. Haha.
Which wasn't even the point of Robin Hood.
Oh no, the actual Robin Hood just took for himself. He didn't give stuff away.
Becomes aware of the Wet Bandit's plan to rob his house at 9 o'clock and creates a series of traps to defend his rich family's property. Before tackling
I love the framing of that. He doesn't say protect his house. He says protect his rich family's house.
Property, not the house.
Yeah. And yeah, I remember this. What's his name?
He really tries to paint the little kid.
Yes,
that is defending himself in creative ways as the villain.
Yeah, I always love that framing, that socialist dude. Lance from the Surfs did a similar thing one time when he did his video about PewDiePie. So like PewDiePie got into some trouble because he paid people to say very edgy things. So when Lance was talking about it, he said PewDiePie paid people poorer than him to say these things. He like says that repeatedly. Like he's deliberately trying to frame a narrative about him being an abusive rich guy.
It's always about
I'm
the
rich,
dichotomy.
so me paying you is abuse.
Yeah, so don't pay them. Leave them poor. Leave them even poorer than you. Work is evil.
This and the ethics of what Kevin is planning, can we just acknowledge that the McAllisters are bougie as hell?
I mean, I wouldn't think so. Yes, they have very much a lot of nice stuff, but at least 4 of the kids share a room.
What would even
Wait,
be what would be described as being bougie anyway, apart from being rich?
Well, presumably because, and I think he brings this up, presumably because their uncle is rich enough to fly them out to Paris for a Christmas vacation.
I mean, the uncle himself is actually a massive cheapskate.
And there's like 14 of them. Okay, hello, Roadkill. Apparently he wants to be on my shoulder today. Renegade Cut is being disingenuous by hiding the fact that one of the wet bandits disguised himself as a cop, which in itself is a crime, so that immediately negates that lie.
The movie places their home somewhere around Chicago, but clearly they live in the suburbs in a giant house with 3 floors and a basement.
Okay.
Yeah, got a nice house. Perfect
have-
for traps.
Yes, they have a nice house. That
What
doesn't.
do you mean with 3 floors? Is the attic is just built out, isn't it?
Yeah, the attic.
The attic
they
isn't
had built
considered
out
a real floor.
Yeah, I think they say in the movie they had to build out the attic when Kevin was born because they didn't have the room. Like,
so the size of the house is just appropriate for the size of the family.
yes, exactly. And I can only imagine that that mom and dad basically spend a significant portion of their time working, because insurance on a house like that would not be cheap. And even then, we don't really know the sort of financial situation they're in. And he's going to bring up Home Alone 2 here in a minute about how, Kevin's dad can fly them all the way to Florida for Christmas. And we're like, yeah. Like, you don't know that they didn't save up all year for that. Like, we don't know the intricacies of the finances of the sort of Home Alone household. It's like the yours, mine, and ours thing. Oh, here's 2 families. We don't I think it's 14 kids, or there's like 7. I think it's total 14 kids.
Yeah, you know the house the Cosbys in the Cosby Show live in. It looks way too small.
In fact, even in this wealthy neighborhood, the wet bandits remark how
Is the neighborhood wealthy? Like, maybe the McAllisters just have the nicest house, but we don't really. We see, I think, one other home, and while it's nice, it's an older home.
And maybe they got a really good deal on it because someone was murdered in it.
Ow! Stop.
What kind of pet do you have?
I have a cat.
You called it Roadkill.
Ow! Yes. My roommate found him spread eagle in the middle of the road. She thought he'd been run over by a car, but luckily he escaped, and now he lives to terrorize me.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, well, he's better off than his siblings. They're barn cats. If he's such a good guy, why the Ted Bundy act Renegade Cut? That's a good question.
McAllister home is the real prize, with Harry getting an almost sexual thrill out of plotting to rob them.
Please don't say sexual thrill as.
And you wanna tell us that those are not the bad guys?
Also, like, can we just sort of examine the fact that Renegade Cut probably either paid someone or edited this himself and decided, You know what? When I'm talking about how one of the wet bandits gets a mild sexual thrill, let's just put that clip of him approaching the window and watching Kevin as he decorates the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that. That's a good clip to put there.
Hey, look, that house is the only reason we started working this block in the first place. Ever since I laid eyes on that house, I wanted it.
The McAllister
See, again,
That line completely betrays anything Renegade Cut wants to put up.
Yeah.
Because that means these burglars are professional burglars that deliberately work on this block of houses.
to enrich themselves.
Yes. And this thing is even it's not even about burglaring it to enrich himself primarily. That's comes secondly. Primarily, it is about personal prestige. It's his personal goal. It's a life goal. Just to have done it. Like a high score.
And this is one of the bad guys, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Dressed as an officer.
And we should just let him do that so he can feel good about himself.
family
Hold on. He's about to make an argument about the pizza guy.
treats the working class pizza delivery driver like scum, by the way.
How?
Wait, which guy, Harry or the dad?
The dad, I assume. But the dad takes the pizza, pays him, and then his job is done. He has delivered the pizza.
First they ignore him, and then once Kevin
What do you mean they ignore him? There's what they assume to be an officer of the law in the house. There's something bigger going on. Jesus, child. Do you want to stand on my head? Like there are bigger things going on in the McAllister household at the moment the pizza man arrives.
is alone, he stiffs him on the tip and then absolutely terrorizes him by pretending someone is firing lethal rounds at him.
Yeah, it's funny.
Well, yes, that's funny, but also I don't think that's what happens. I think he just stays to try and get the tip, and then Kevin turns on the movie again.
No, wait. Yeah, I guess that is what happens.
I can't remember what.
I know later in the movie,
it is.
he does the same thing to Marv, but he puts firecrackers right in front of his door.
He's just trying to make a living, you privileged.
No, you can't eat my microphone.
He's a stupid kid.
Asshole. The pizza delivery
Kids don't
driver
really have empathy.
Yeah, he's a child. Like, I'm not gonna be, oh, well, he should have been nicer to the pizza man.
is stuck in a job in which he needs to serve the more fortunate, and Kevin's reaction to this is to treat him like garbage.
Wait, a job to serve the more fortunate.
He's a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, even the pizza man's also a kid.
He's what, 11 in this movie?
I think Kevin's like 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to deserve this, pizza delivery driver. You are a working class hero.
Oh, what if the what if the guy? How do you know? Maybe he's from a rich family that just wants him to get a real job, to get some working experience, to understand the value of work and the value of money, and the value of having earned lots of money.
True. I come from a pretty upper middle class family, and my first job was delivering pizzas.
Yeah. What if those very same burglars would try to rob him?
Yeah, like pizza guys get mugged all the time. It happens. Like people will just steal from them.
Yeah, because they're carrying money. And I wonder,
maybe the pizza man is the one that breaks the wet bandits from prison in the second one.
Yes. Revenge on the ruling class.
I wonder.
Revenge on the kid that punked me.
And this might not even be like the McAllister's home, like real home. It might be their grandparents, and they just live there. Or they might not be able to afford the home, but the grandparents bought it when they were newly married, or when they were in a good financial situation, and they just sort of inherit past the home down. Like,
Yeah. Parents like to do that. Parents like to get homes so that their children can have homes later on.
mhm.
This is generational wealth. Look how many people there are.
Uncle is so rich that he can fly them all to Paris. 14 of them.
Okay, he's flying them all. That doesn't mean that they didn't chip in or not pay for their tickets.
Okay. By Renegade Cut's logic, by the way, he proves that a lot of the people who came to Germany in 2015 are not refugees, because they could afford, in the very same year that they came here to claim refugee status, to make vacations with their 6 kids in the very countries that they allegedly fled from, and demand that money from the state. And the policy under Merkel was to give it to them. What's that? What's up with that?
Good wealth redistribution.
And they always they love to drive BMWs, and then they demand more money from the state in order to buy fuel for their BMWs because it's so expensive. That fuck your redistribution of wealth. This is enrichment. This is exploitation of the system. At the same time, we have a lot of native grannies and grandpas who can't get proper medical treatment, because it's just denied to them. So, we don't have money for that. We don't have money for that. It's the same tax money. It's the tax money everybody works for. It's only given to non-natives. It's not. I've known about over one hop, friend of mine. I have a dentist in this town, and I know this is a tiny bit off topic, but that dentist would really like to give a few of the old people in his town new teeth, because he is required to give tooth jobs to all the alleged refugees. They all get nice teeth. That's $5,000 per guy. That is funded by the state. That is tax money. The old people don't get that. The natives don't get free tooth jobs. Like that, like roundabout you. And he says he doesn't like it. He doesn't care about the money. He hates to do this, because he knows the other people aren't getting that funding. And now Renegade Cut would then, of course, make the comment, oh, well, if he doesn't care about the money, why doesn't he just give him that for free? Because there are regulations. You can't just do that. That would be black labor, or in a way, or some form of corruption. Can't do that. Sorry if I mess up the details. It's been a few years, and I'm tired. And this is all horrible. Socialists break everything, and they give the hard-earned money of people to random other people who never worked a day in their lives and never had the intention to work a day in their lives. I at least worked at some point in my life, and I hate to be unable to work, because I want to stand on my own 2 legs. Lots of these people who get the money blasted into their asses by the state, they never intend to work. They only take. And that's all socialists understand, because all they ever did was take in their entire lives. Because they got everything blasted into their asses by their parents. And if can you imagine Renegade Cut as a teacher?
No.
Me neither.
That must cost a small fortune. Then in Home Alone 2, in case you thought only Kevin's never seen uncle is rich, Kevin's father flies the whole clan to Florida.
Okay. Again, I brought this up earlier, but we don't know that that they didn't save for this.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know that they saved all year.
Is it sure that it's all on one account? It's not the whole family pulling together? I mean, I haven't seen the movie in ages, but...
Or, I mean, like, ending up or having a smaller Christmas in terms of gifts, but going on a vacation.
Yeah, and just
Instead.
because you are jealous of them being richer than you doesn't give you the right to take away their stuff. Renegade Cut, I don't see you making a case for taking away the riches of North Korea's government officials or China's government officials. Why aren't you making those cases? Why aren't you criticizing the self-proclaimed socialist wonders of the world? Because they are, by your own standards, not socialists. Huh? If you want socialism so bad and it to work properly, shouldn't you criticize the socialist systems that turn to tyranny and corruption?
Well, he's a self-proclaimed anarchist. I think he has, at the very least, criticized.
This guy does not have the energy to be an anarchist against anything.
But also, it's clear he hasn't thought about the end result of anarchy, which is just society.
If he was an anarchist, he'd be all for Kevin.
I'm sorry, but who takes a tropical vacation for Christmas? Bougie, suburban white people. That's who.
Okay.
Bougie.
So what?
And nobody else does that? No, there's not a single poor person that wants to go to Florida for one Christmas. Or the Bahamas.
People don't drive cross country or take or save up for years so they can do that sort of thing. That would be just that crazy. You can't do fun things when you're poor. You have to all you can do when you're poor is work and be stolen and be exploited by a system that doesn't give you anything in return for that work.
I won't get into the ethics of whether it's okay to steal from the rich, although
you should,
fine, obviously,
because you're making that movie, that video about all of that. So you're leaving out the important part, and you do it with a condescending, velvety voice, with a smile on your face, because you know that this argument would rip yourself to shreds.
So Castle Doctrine states that in order to protect yourself from bodily harm or death, you have the right to inflict bodily harm or death on anyone who trespasses on your property.
Correct.
It almost makes sense, except for all the ways that it can be exploited.
How? Give example.
Let's use Home Alone as an example.
But no, this isn't an example of Castle Doctrine. If the Wet Bandits truly did mean Kevin no harm, then they could take him to civil court and Castle Doctrine would not defend him in this case. Namely, because of what Kevin is doing right now.
Kevin devises a series of traps to protect himself from the Wet Bandits.
There you go. Okay, Drunken Mumble, don't spoil things. He's gonna talk about that in a minute when he gets to Home Alone 2. But for now we're on Home Alone 1 and this is not Castle Doctrine.
Drunken Mumble. I just now realize your thumbnail is supposed to be a Kotanaha from School Days. For the longest time, I could never tell what that was.
But like what Kevin is doing now, it would not be covered under Castle Doctrine because he's actively setting traps for an intruder. This is not something you can do. Because with the thing with booby traps and all that is you can be found, they can actually come back and sue you because you are negligent and you're not defending yourself. You're actively anticipating a threat. The threat isn't sudden, it's I have prepared this place to be defended, and there are traps and there are lethal traps surrounding my home. Kind of thing. That would not be Stand Your Ground or Castle Doctrine.
But here's the thing. Kevin doesn't need to do any of this to protect himself. This is not a situation in which Kevin is sleeping in his bed, hears a strange sound coming from the kitchen, grabs a weapon just to be safe, sees an intruder, and then it all goes sideways. No. Kevin knows the wet bandits are coming. He even knows when the wet bandits are coming. He overhears them plotting. Shortly before the big slapstick portion of the movie, Kevin goes to church. He's safe there. In fact, he's safe anywhere besides his home.
You don't know that?
Oh, so you want to, you say just abandon wherever you are if someone wants to do bad things to you or your stuff. You are a coward. And you want everyone else to be a coward. Renegade Cut, donate all your stuff. Everything you own, your PC.
Yeah, so like I was telling Clayton,
because someone else needs it more than you. You don't need any of this. Just live an ascetic life.
True socialist gypsies.
Okay, so like I was telling Clayton earlier before the stream started, he sounds a lot like the bike cuck meme. Like you know what that is, right, Wisp?
Oh, what bike?
The bike cuck, that meme.
Bike cuck?
Yeah, it's a you know who Shen Comics is?
No.
Yeah, he's a guy who does like these little short web comics. One of them was about him finding out that his bike got stolen. At first, he's bummed out about it, but then he thinks, like, then I realized the guys who took my bike are probably more happy to have it than I'm sad that I lost it. So whatever.
Oh, so overall happiness probably increased.
Yes, and then everybody just called him bike cuck.
Yeah, understandable. Because you don't know that overall that these people are more happy than you. They just sell it for more money.
Also,
for something that, in case you got the bike gifted, somebody else worked really hard in order to afford that present for you. If you did that yourself, why don't just give all your stuff away because you don't care about it anyway? Just work and give all the money you make, give it away. Do it. It's bloody hell. The level of coping with you just being a doormat. You are a doormat.
But even in his argument, like Kevin is safe at the church, you don't know that. You don't know what goes on around that church. Maybe the priest is Maybe the priest is a pedophile.
I was about to say it.
Or maybe Kevin could get maybe there's some like kidnappers just are hanging out waiting for people to wander by the church.
Waiting for vulnerable kids, for example, that got lost.
Like you don't oh, so I'm just supposed to abandon the church because I have a location that is presumed to be safer than the home that's
We're
being broken into.
Yeah, we're meant to run with Renegade's Cut's assumptions and interpretations about the world, when none of them hold any ground. What does hold ground is that you should be able to defend yourself in your home against intruders. That's all.
He could have remained at the church, complete.
Churches do close. Does Renegade Cut know that? Like most churches close their campus. They don't. Like,
Yeah, he would need to give a reason why he wants to stay at the church.
Yeah.
Oh, there are scary men breaking into my home. Okay, that would end the movie. So we have to live with a bit of suspension of disbelief. Why Kevin does not keep asking for help against the burglars.
Mm-hmm.
Completely safe. And if he so desired, he could have contacted the pigs to catch the wet bandits in the act.
The pigs.
Yeah.
The pigs.
Yeah, don't get used to it because he's gonna do it again.
Renegade Cut, I hope, okay, honestly, I hope you get burglared and you won't call the police and you will just hand over all your stuff. Because you who shit on the police so much, you don't deserve to be protected by them. They will do it anyway if they're called, because a lot of them are good people. But bloody hell no, you don't deserve it. Just hand over all your stuff. I mean, this is basically an invitation by Renegade Cut to the world to come over here and take it. Because I won't put up a fight. That's what he's saying. Although I doubt that Renegade Cut does own anything of worth. Then again, he has a lot of idiotic patrons and views. So maybe he does have some stuff.
Probably
Just check out his place. He apparently doesn't. He's not going to defend himself, and he won't call the police because he thinks they're pigs.
Yeah.
So, dear people with criminal intention, do something good. There's a good target.
That's literally all they do. Now, if he's worried about being fingered for the toothbrush crime, he doesn't have to meet with the authorities, only call them. That's what Duty to Retreat is all about. The wet bandits pose no physical threat to Kevin because
it's not Duty to Retreat.
Don't know that.
Where is it
Neither
called?
does Kevin.
Tell me, where is it called? I think we went over that in the trial with the photo chat witness. There is nothing that is called Duty to Retreat, as far as I'm aware. It's not a duty.
It's couched like that.
Yeah, that's unconstitutional. To make it a duty is just evil. That's like the bully keeps punching you, and you're not allowed to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to take the punches. And if you dare punch back, you will be reprimanded, and the bully still won't. It's just like on the schoolyard. There are a lot of kids who've been through that exact situation. Bully punches you on the ground, maybe even kicks you, won't be reprimanded by the teachers because the teachers are scared of the bully. I'm not kidding you. Because these are scared, wimpy women. But if you, the good kid, you defend yourself against the bully, they will reprimand you. Because they know, deep down, that you're not that kind of asshole, not that aggressive as the bully, that they can still reason with you with words. And they will gaslight you because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're responsive to that. The bully isn't. And they will not reprimand the bully. It just never happens.
because he's
Socialists do this on a higher level.
The wet bandits aren't going to the church. They don't even know he's there. They're going to the McAllister house in a duty to.
Ow.
Kevin set up all the traps in his home, so he can safely leave for now and return later.
Actually, I don't think he even sets up the traps until after he leaves the church.
I
I would have to rewatch the movie.
Yeah, I would too. I'm not sure. But even so, like, again, churches close. Like, and I'm not sure I would want my kid to go over to the local Walmart and hang out because, that place is open 25/8. So,
To retreat state, that is what you're expected to do. If you don't have to kill someone, then you shouldn't kill someone.
but I don't have to kill them when they break into my home. I can,
Wait, what's the point where I know that someone wants to kill me?
yeah, exactly. Like, at what
And do I
point?
then still have the opportunity to defend myself properly? If the other one has his or her hands around my neck, already has the knife in my chest, does it have to be that far for me to acknowledge that this person might want to kill me, might be a threat enough worthy of me trying to defend myself? Oh, I can't breathe anymore. Oh, I'm bleeding out. Guess I can't do that anymore. Renegade Cut, you've never been in a dangerous situation in your entire life, and your parents should have slapped you green and blue, so that you would have woken up from your narcissistic dream. Can't fucking believe it.
In mortal danger, then you can't kill someone.
Okay, but how does Kevin know he's not in mortal danger?
Yeah.
At what point does the threat present itself?
Yeah. If the burglars say, "Oh, we don't want to kill you, we just want to take your stuff," would you believe them?
No.
Why not?
These people,
there might be upright citizens who speak the truth.
They clearly
they haven't proven themselves to be liars. Why would you disbelieve them? Sorry, I was talking over you. It wasn't a bit of a thing here.
Like, they want to break into my home without my permission. That's enough for me to not trust them.
Yeah, but they might be telling the truth. You don't know that they're liars.
The idea that Kevin is acting in self-defense, protecting himself from bodily harm, goes out the window since he's aware that the bandits are coming and chooses to run back to his home to inflict potentially lethal harm on them. Kevin could have easily...
Yeah, but this removes the context. The fact that Kevin did try this. Because there's several scenes earlier in the movie where Kevin makes it look like there's people still in the home.
Mm-hmm. It's a deterrent.
Yeah, so
I remember. Yeah, he put up these paper cutouts and put them on toy trains so that it looked like people were moving around.
Yeah, like he has already made the effort to be like, yeah, the family's still here. Go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he also recreated the shootout.
So again, these guys very clearly just don't want to. They just want to be robbers and get in this house.
He avoided any potential danger to himself, but chose not to. He's not...
Okay, Renegade Cut, stop. Fuck you. Fuck off. You can say these very lines about the robbers. Can I hear that line again?
Potentially lethal harm on them. Kevin could have easily avoided any potential danger to himself, but chose not to.
Yeah, stop. The robbers could have chosen to... I'm sorry, it's too late.
Not
let's say
rob
dodge.
this house.
Yeah, they could have chosen to not rob this house and thereby not get into any physical harm. Because they were trying to do something not just illegal by law, but illegal throughout human history. And not just with humans. other animals who gather up stuff get pissed when you try to take their stuff. And I think they're right to do so. So it's the robbers. You're turning it upside down.
It's one of the first. It's like one of the first laws in Hammurabi's code.
Yes.
It'd be like, yeah, if you steal something, you're either giving it back or you're losing your hand.
Can you believe that Hammurabi's code was better developed than any socialist crap? There's
Yeah.
even some things in there that are still better than what we do today. Like I love the one where anyone if you are found of having falsely accused someone of something, then you shall be punished according to what the accusation would be punished for. If the accusation was true and the other one would be punished for that, that's what you will be punished for falsely accusing someone. So if you accuse someone of rape, falsely accuse someone of rape, and it's proven that you knowingly falsely accuse someone, you will be punished by what the other guy would be, or woman would be punished if he or she had committed that exact crime. I love that one. Because I think that sounds way more like a deterrent than the sole death penalty shit.
I agree. And if our oldest known material legal document, oldest known code of laws in human history, has among its first written rules, don't steal, that implies that human property is a man and his property are of equivalent value.
Yeah. And on a side note, Hammurabi's code was surprisingly well developed in regards to protecting women, to regulated how to treat slaves properly, and if you mistreated them, you would lose the right to have them, as well as on how slaves could gain their freedom. That was a couple thousand years before any of this retarded black slavery nonsense in the United States happened. Before there was any noteworthy civilization in Europe.
He's not protecting himself. He's protecting his stuff. His Christmas presents, his rich family's silverware, etc.
So
Now you might be
Against psychopaths.
And who said he's protecting his presence? He straight up says before he sets up the traps. He says, "This is my home. I've got to protect it."
Mm-hmm.
But even still,
what do you think
it's
of the
not
kid
like-
when the family comes back and they ask, "Well, what happened was all the stuff? Burglars came and they took it all. What did you do?" "Well, I watched as they took it all." Like, do you think what a pathetic child? And that's what socialists want everyone to be, of every age. Just watch as they take away your stuff. Maybe even your family members. Because that's what they do when they are in power. Sorry, I keep talking over you.
If you earned your wealth, you're not worthy of your wealth. You stole that. But I worked hard for this. But you stole it.
Oh yeah, socialists believe that profit is theft.
thinking that Kevin has a right to protect said property. I don't know, maybe, but he could have just as easily.
It's a human right, you scumfuck! It's an official human right. The UN Charter of Human Rights was made in response to the atrocities of the Nazis. You want to commit the same atrocities as the Nazis. But we know that. I know that. I grew up in East Germany and the aftermath of it. You red socialists are the fucking same shit as the brown socialists. And anyone who argues about, oh, but this detail was different and that detail was different, you are a fucking bean counter. Because you're talking about the difference between constipation and bloody diarrhea. Yes, it's the different kind of shit, but it's still both shit. And what matters is that it's shit, not what kind of shit it is. I don't want to be surrounded by that kind of stuff. I don't want to have to rub myself with that stuff. I don't want to have to eat that kind of stuff. That stuff goes down the drain. You fucking fascist. Because you know who took away property of people? Fascists did. Bloody asshole. Sorry for getting loud.
No, you're good.
No,
man.
that was good.
It's been a while since we had an angry rant on here.
Family's property by contacting the authorities.
And my voice thanks you for being the one to do it.
I mean, hey, I had a pretty angry rant when we did Anna Matt's Bioshock video.
Or if he doesn't trust the cops, and who would, he could
Oh boy. All communists are bastards. There we go.
Yes.
There we go. That's better.
have told the old man what was happening. Old man Marley could have alerted the community. I mean, they're in a church full of people, and the community could have acted on behalf of Kevin. Basically,
Or call the
Kevin
cops
could have-
because it's their job.
No, it looks like Kevin isn't very distraught here. Why would the old man believe what he's telling? Maybe he's just telling fairy tales.
Yeah, like he's a 9-year-old that so we're going to let the 9-year-old who has a family who's nobody really knows, like at this point, I don't think at this point in the film anybody knows Kevin's left alone, right? I haven't seen this movie in a while, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just exhausted. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Nobody,
No, it's
What
fine.
was the question?
By the time Kevin goes to the church, he's still unknown that he got left behind.
No, his family knows that he got left behind. They found it. The mother realized it on the plane, and then she called the police to check on the house, but Kevin didn't respond because he didn't know who was there.
Mm-hmm. And then
Which technically is a good response.
yes, he don't trust people that come just randomly to your door, and even then, Renegade Cut will point out, there's a chance they could be criminals in disguise. It's not like we haven't seen it in the movie.
De-escalated the situation. But because this takes place in Illinois, which enforces castle doctrine, Kevin can probably do all of this legally. I want to be clear about something. This is not an argument that what Kevin is doing is illegal or legal.
I doubt that the
it-
writer was taking Illinois' stand your ground laws into consideration when writing this comedy.
I agree.
Yeah, it's just a Looney Tunes-esque comedy.
An
It's a Looney
argument
Tunes cartoon live action, if you will.
what Kevin is doing
Mhm.
is unnecessary and a product of a violent culture and violent laws.
No,
But you haven't.
Slapstick comedy.
violent
It's the
culture.
it's the most primitive form. Or watching people get hurt is the most primitive form of humor.
You know what a violent culture and violent law was? Socialist East Germany. People got shot at the border for wanting to get out of that prison. People always invoke the Berlin Wall as walls are evil, borders are evil. Yeah, that was socialism. And socialism doesn't build walls to protect the state, its people, from threats from outside. It builds walls to keep people inside. So anyone, and I heard this in Germany, I heard this from the Democrats in the US, that they invoked the Berlin Wall to criticize Trump wanting to reinforce the borders against threats from outside, like the fucking cannibalistic drug cartels.
No, the Berlin Wall was not to keep people out; it was to keep people in.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But the fucking socialists who were in favor of the fucking wall of Berlin, the prison wall of East Germany, which is the same as the fucking thing in North Korea, they invoked the Berlin Wall as a criticism for Trump's wall. That was to keep threats out instead of imprison its own population. That is the insanity to which these assholes go with their lies. Secondly, culture of a violent culture, violent laws. The Stasi took away people who criticized the government or who were accused of criticizing the government. And if you're lucky, you turned up a couple days later, maybe weeks later, with broken bones and black eyes on the porch of your spouse. If you're lucky. If you weren't so lucky, you didn't come back. Furthermore, well, I already mentioned the being shot at the border for trying to leave the country.
Oh yeah, like they
is that a violent culture? Are those violent laws?
I was gonna ask, like, okay, present me an example of violent culture and violent laws. Like, explain how law can be violent. It can be applied violent, but I don't believe the concept in and of itself can be violent.
Oh, in the interpretation of socialists of law is that power or might is violence. All power is violence because power oppresses someone. That's the whole anarchist idea. And that's why they also justify that oh, it's just violence against things, violence against objects, not violence against people, so it's fine. Nobody gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think about impoverishing people is what in the long run hurts them, hurts their health, physically, mentally, hurts their families, makes them break apart maybe, puts them out on the street. They don't care about that. Because they can tell them, they rationalize it to themselves that, oh, they're not hurting anyone, they're just destroying things, not people. They're destroying capitalism. Yeah, and then everyone's poor and starves to death, like always. Wonderful. So by this whole bullshit of, well, all power is violence, that's how he justifies that. I'm sorry, I'm so exhausted. I can't puzzle this all together anymore. It's been a long day, but a fun day. Lots of board games. Was good. I'm sorry, I can't do this well today.
No, you're fine.
No, you're good.
That setting lethal traps is a legal gray area, and there.
No, it's not.
No.
In most states, it's not.
No, Renegade Cut is of the idea of the doctrine that most likely that that having a pool on your property and it's not fenced off well, and a burglar falls into your pool and drowns, that you are responsible for that death. Or if that burglar breaks his leg by falling into the pool where there's no water in because you hadn't put around any fencing or warning signs that the pool is empty, then you have to pay the medical bills of the burglar because you're responsible for that burglar breaking his leg. That's his logic. And he should have all his stuff taken away because of it. I'm going to play by his rules. He's the monster. Monsters don't deserve to have anything, so take away his stuff.
There is legal precedent that might get this kind of home defense in hot water, but I won't be getting into all of that here. I'm not a lawyer.
Because you're useless and you know it would all fall apart.
Humble citizen who thinks we should probably kill less people.
I can agree
These
with that
criminals are not humble.
these are not.
And your goons, Antifa, BLM, they are not humble. They want to kill people. They love to kill people. We've seen this in the summer of love of 2020. How many children died? How many women were raped in these autonomous zones? And not just the children didn't just die, they were killed. They were murdered. By your people. By your ideological friends. That's you. That's all on you, Renegade Cut, because you keep. This is videos from 2019. The stuff has always been going on. And you to this day, you are a proponent of all of this. That blood is on your hands. Because you ignore it. You tell everyone, oh, beware of the Nazis, beware of the Nazis. I think I'm looking at one right now. Well, not the guy from the movie here on screen, but I'm looking at you, Renegade Cut. You may not be a National Socialist, but you are of the same ilk. You have the same decrepit mindset. You have the same inhuman thinking, school of thought that values people less and even unfit for life if they do not abide by your standards. You side with criminals over anyone innocent. Because you just turn it upside down every day, just like they did in the past, in the last century, and we didn't learn enough from it to stand up against people like you, as we should have. Because you played a trick. Your kind played a trick for 100 years, telling us that, oh, you're the good guys, and it's only the Nazis that are bad. Don't look what they actually wrote. Don't read the actual books to compare, because you would notice that we, the red socialists, are the exact same shit, and we believe the exact same shit as the brown socialists. And that is, personally, what I believe why Hitler's absolutely retarded, comical book was banned in Germany after the war. Officially, because it was feared that it would turn people into Nazis. If you ever read that book, and if you ask anyone who read that book, that is laughable. You have to already believe in that shit in order for that book to reinforce that. If anyone else reads that, you just think, what is this garbage? How can anyone fall for this? It's a bit like you know about this it's not just a trope, but fundamentalist Christians who never read the Bible and then are actually shown what's in it, and then they stop being Christians. It's kind of like that. You show someone the actual content of Hitler's scary book, show that to a German, and I feel like, what is this nonsense? But there are some important parts about it. And that is where he describes his socialist beliefs, that of his party, and how it all works, and how he thinks his party should work. And then you begin to see the parallels towards the red socialists, because they still operate exactly like that to this day. There is no difference in the core beliefs between Nazis and communists. None.
That should not be a controversial statement, but it apparently is.
Ah,
Now, because this
Oh,
movie is rated
that scene.
PG, Kevin's lethal traps will somehow miraculously not kill the wet bandits.
okay, yes. Again, suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
But let's be real here. These are lethal traps. See, this is how castle doctrine works. There is a threat to the home, and regardless of
So they are a threat to the home. So yes, castle doctrine is a good thing then.
how unreasonable it might seem to defend it with an escalation of violence, the courts will almost certainly.
How is defending my home by any means an escalation of violence? Someone has already violated my property.
You're just reacting. This is what I mean. He thinks, just like these incompetent, scared teachers, that you defending yourself is escalation. When in reality, all this is you don't start a fight, but you always end it.
Or he has to couch defense as an escalation in order to justify their own violence.
Yeah, and the whole thing with the traps, by the way, is, and these burglars keep trying. They're not deterred. They walk from trap to trap to trap, instead of just saying, "Oh, fuck it. This is getting stupid. It's getting too annoying. What the hell?"
This is
Because
getting dangerous to our physical lives.
Yeah, because for the main guy, it's about pride, his personal pride. But the whole thing is, these are all what Kevin's doing. This is not active. These are not active measures. He's setting up traps, and they keep walking into them. This is the most passive defense you could think of. These are not lethal auto turrets, which, by the way, the socialists used at the Berlin Wall against people who tried to flee the country. This is benign stuff, like the toy cars to step on. Yeah, the nail is bad because it's probably blood poisoning.
Yeah.
On the side as a side effect. But in general, you walk into a trap, oh shit. You walk into another trap, into a worse trap, and you keep going. No. This is totally fine. This is a passive defense, not an active defense. Kevin is not going out with a sword and starting to sword fight them. He's just saying, you want to keep going? Yeah, okay, keep walking into traps. It's up to you. And because it's this kind of movie, the trap threat level escalates and escalates and escalates. But it only escalates because the bandits keep going. The moment they stop to rob this place, violate the human rights of Kevin and his family, any violence stops. Immediately.
Side with the homeowner. Capitalism
Why is that wrong?
gives more power to people with more money. So
No. This would be true for anyone. Doesn't matter whether this is a rich house or a poor black family's house that is being robbed. You understand that? It's not about rich people. It's about people. You fucking asshole. You try to make this about capitalism. No. You think human rights are capitalism. You think human rights are white supremacy. Because if we read them, human rights are about judging your whether you can get into higher levels of academia by your merit, and to not be discriminated on what you can, where you can get into or not, based on immutable characteristics like your race, your sex, and so on. Which means that all this affirmative action shit and the different SAT scores required for different races are against human rights. They're a violation of human rights. Because it is a violation of merit. And I'm pretty sure it's also unconstitutional. But hey, socialists want this stuff. Socialists want, Renegade Cut wants to measure the worth of people based on their race. We've had such people rule in Germany for not as long as the communists, but they waged a world war. There were people judging other people and their own based on the race they were a part of. And whether and who would go into the gas chambers and the ovens. So affirmative action is the same logic, just that there's no oven behind it yet.
So more means in which to defend oneself in court, and more means in which to influence the law. Any threat to that money is treated as equivalent to a threat to one's life, which is how Castle Doctrine stays on the books, and how Kevin can do whatever he wants. Castle
It's
Doctrine.
not about the money. It's about a violation of the home. Why they want to get in is irrelevant. If they wanted to I don't know, rob the teenage daughter to rape her, would it be any different for you, Renegade Cut? Because, we don't know what they actually want to steal. If imagine you are Kevin, somehow, in this world. You don't know why these guys want to break in. Assuming, taking stuff, but maybe you people like hypotheticals. Okay, you have your kid sister with you, that's even younger than you. And maybe they just want to steal her for sex trafficking. Make money off that. Is she also just property? Or is she worth more than that? Because they could just, you don't know. Are they coming for the stuff to take, for money that's lying around? Because that's more easy to liquidate, because it's already liquid? Or are they coming for my kid sister? Renegade Cut, it doesn't matter what they're coming for. They are violating the home. They're violating the safe space of the family. Maybe you understand that line of words better. Am I making sense?
Yes, but here's the thing. Because they're white, because Kevin and his family are white, they have no right to that property.
So whites, because of their race, they have no human rights, yes?
Exactly. That's how intersectionals and socialists and commies think nowadays.
Which is a violation of human rights. And it always was. This whole social justice thing. It's not a new thing. It has existed for 100 years. They've used this term for 100 years. It's not a new invention. And it always worked like this. Why do you think where terms like racial justice come from? And racial justice is a special one. It's the same. It's the very thing I just talked about. This is where this also it plays into this affirmative action shit. And racial justice is a very special term that the red socialists keep using, because it's the one term that in all this time, I don't know which craziness hasn't made it to Germany, but racial justice hasn't, to my knowledge. Not yet. Because if you translate this word, and Germans are good enough at English to translate it into German in their heads, they will go thinking, well, the German word for that, and I've asked over a dozen Germans in well, it's probably more than just 1 dozen in 10 years, but it's always been the same thing. When I asked them, in America, they talk about racial justice. It's the red socialists that are doing this. It's the communists who are doing this. It's the Democrat Party who's doing it. How would you translate that word? Into what? And then their eyes glaze over a little and they look into the distance and they look a bit shocked. And then I ask them, would you speak that word out loud? And everyone does. Most people, I didn't keep track. This is maybe a mistake in the long run. But people either said no, or they didn't say anything anymore because their throats just collapsed. Like it made them speechless. The thinking of this word that nobody in Germany uses made them speechless. And then I asked them, whether you've read it or not, it's beside the point. But what book would you expect to find this word in? And they all say the same thing. Hitler's book. It's not in there. But it is the word everyone would expect to come from Hitler himself. Because racial justice is exactly what the Nazis wanted.
allows Kevin to burn these men alive for what begins, at least, as a non-violent crime.
I mean, again,
This isn't how it's. This is the end of the escalation.
yeah, he tried to deter them initially. Like, the movie happens over the course of like 3 nights.
In non-violent crime, you have to use violence to get into someone's home. You have to break something to get into someone's home. In order to break something, you require violence. Or at least a lot of sloppiness. Falling into a window or something.
Harry's hand like he's Major Todt from Raiders of the Lost Ark. To summarize, Castle Doctrine on paper is about protection, but in practice, it allows for intruders to be killed regardless of their perceived threat level.
They are intruders. You do not know their threat level. It doesn't matter what their threat level is. You cannot objectively know their threat level. It can be anything. You can mistake. What if you think their threat level is really low, but their true threat level is really, really high? What are you gonna do? They are intruders. They get all treated the same. You know, real equality. Equal treatment for all intruders. How about that? Equality for treatment of intruders. Renegade Cut. You always want your subjective treatment, and don't assume the worst things, but you assume the worst things about all cops. You assume the worst things about all white people, which is probably just projecting your own degeneracy onto everyone. But here, for real criminals with criminal intent, you want subjective treatment. All of a sudden. You know what? Renegade Cut? All criminals are bastards. Bloody hell.
Theft of belongings or even trespassing are justification enough for death. By the way, I say the Wet Bandits' home invasion begins
Not necessarily. It's usually not the first response.
Violent crime, but in fairness, once the Wet Bandits have enough of Kevin's traps, Harry threatens to bite off Kevin's fingers one at a time, which is in another stratosphere of lunacy. He's like, I'm gonna do it one at a time. Not all at once. Like he wants to savor it. What is even Harry's deal? So in the end, Kevin...
Stop. You are laughing about this. You're laughing about this. As this lunatic, this psychopath who wants to break into a house and isn't deterred.
After arguing...
Wants to mutilate a child in the most torturous way. And you laugh about it? You find that funny? Renegade Cut, you are a psychopath. You are a sadistic psychopath. You should not be let near children of any age. You should not be a teacher in any place. Not even in Southern Korea. And if you wonder why I'm saying it like that, it's a quote from him. Because he once said that he was a teacher in North and South Korea.
Wow.
He didn't edit that out.
So it's okay. So it's okay that Kevin called the police after one of the robbers threatened to bite his fingers off. But you haven't just spent this entire video stating over and over again that Kevin should have done X, Y, and Z thing. And he had no idea this was never going to turn violent at all. Well, but if they truly didn't have violent intentions or didn't care that people were there, they wouldn't have broken into the home. They would have seen Kevin's little misdirect with the Christmas party and left, and they would have gone and robbed another house.
Yeah.
But no, they robbed this house. They proceeded forward despite knowing that there were people in the home, or at least they assumed there were people in the home. And after running into direct opposition Kevin actively puts things in the way that would stall them and prevent them from entering the home. They still proceed forward. At some point, they're either responsible for their own decisions, or white oppression is so powerful, or I guess capitalistic oppression is so powerful that it literally mind controlled them and forced them into the home.
The irrational and insane thing is that, as you just described, Renegade Cut treats the intruders, the burglars, as children without agency. And he treats Kevin, the 8-year-old or whatever he is, as having to make all the rational, mature, sensible decisions. This is insane. This is literally, and I mean literally in the literal sense of literally. This is literally insane. Kevin is the child. He makes irrational decisions. We are not expecting him to do everything exactly as the perfect paragon of adulthood would, because he's a child. And so for him, at first, it's a game, and he's very resourceful about it. The whole deterrence per illusion, amazing. Completely non-violent. Great. Anything else is just the bandits escalating it. Everything only escalates because of them and their pride. Renegade Cut is an insane psychopath who laughs about the misery of a child being threatened to be mutilated and tortured just because the kid is from a rich family. This is what you will get when you get socialists as your rulers. This is what you get when you vote for them. This is what you get when they take over your country. This is what you get when they make laws and when they get control of the police force. Because then they will not be against the police anymore. They will not think all cops are bastards. They will call you a counter-revolutionary, or a what's the other favorite word?
Enemy of the state.
Yes. What's the other favorite word? Reactionary or subversive element. And if you do not do as the police tells you, you are, as you say, an enemy of the state and need to be removed because you are a threat to society. That's how they do think. They only criticize the police now because they think this exact thing that they want to do to us is being done to them right now.
Okay. Well, in all to be fair, I think what he meant was when he said he was laughing about Harry wanted to bite his fingers off. I just think he was laughing about the absurdity of it. How absurd of a scene that it is.
Oh, I don't think it's absurd. I mean, the brain of the operation, who did threaten that, he just had his head burned off. That guy is on crazy adrenaline right now.
Yeah.
And full of revenge fantasies. Yeah. So I would believe that, Fred, and especially as Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
And it is already psychological torture. There is nothing absurd about the scene. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You haven't seen abuse.
Could have done this the whole time, and the cops do what they do best: control the poor. I mean, protect
the poor. The criminals are just the poor.
Yes, they're poor criminals. They're poor criminals. Economics forced them into this life. They didn't fall in because, they don't want to work or they're lazy. And they found this to be an easier path in life than anything else.
I do enjoy the fact that the police in the movie are always either incompetent or are actually criminals in disguise. That amuses me.
That one time.
That's so funny.
At the
Yeah,
end of the
because
day,
you like to laugh about people that you hate. Because you are a petty man.
Guns and doomsday cans of peaches will say that because the wet bandits trespassed on the McAllister home, regardless of the fact that their intent was theft and at least not initially violence, then they deserve to die.
Yes, they had ample opportunity, and there were several deterrents in their way to stop them from entering the home, and they still chose to do it. At that point, they're suffering the consequences of their own actions.
It's their fault.
Yes, it is.
But maybe this is just me, but I'm not comfortable saying people deserve to die.
Okay, what was it with that random shot of a preacher?
Yeah. Good
Context.
question.
That seems extremely dismissive of human life, even if said lives are two admittedly crummy people. I mean, let's be honest, by Home Alone 2, any argument that the wet bandits are proletariat heroes
I wouldn't even.
What the fuck,
I've
proletariat
never
heroes?
heard someone argue the wet bandits are proletariat heroes.
If they were proletariat, they'd be working. Being professional burglars is not being a worker. It is a profession. You put work into it, yes, but you are not a worker. You are not a productive member of society. You are a parasite. I know when socialists get into power, they call a lot of people parasites.
Mhm.
But
Window.
not those.
Like-
Not those.
First movie, we don't know their story. Maybe they're robbing these bougie houses to feed their families. This should be obvious.
Then the first movie should have told us.
Yeah, and even then a target like the McAllister household wouldn't do anything. Why? Because why go rob a house when I can rob a grocery store or a convenience store, probably get away with it, and have food for my family? If
And
this wasn't,
go on.
go ahead.
I was gonna say for all we know, their wives could give them shit if they found out the money's all from stealing goods. All right, go on.
And if this wasn't for material gain, there are significantly easier ways to acquire the sort of like basic necessities. Like if you are a thief and you're doing it purely to feed your family, why would you go to some rich asshole's house who you don't know what he can do versus the place that a million people come in and out of every single day, that has food readily accessible? Like why would you go do that instead of stealing from a supermarket? Unless Renegade Cut's all in favor of robbing from the rich, but leaving supermarkets alone because they provide working class positions, I guess.
But crimes of an economic nature generally happen for economic reasons.
Okay, I can agree with that. But again, there are easier ways but if this is the supposed backstory we're going with, there are easier ways for them to find things to feed their family.
Yeah, if you can do this job, you can do any other job.
Plus, like, again, if they just want the money, then stealing again from a convenience store or like a Walmart is probably going to be an easier bet.
Yeah. Well, that is, they want to make the big score, but Just because the house is big doesn't mean it's full of riches.
Yeah.
And I guess as in this case, most of those are children's rooms. So
Not
what?
to be the case by Home Alone 2, they're just straight up cartoon villains who steal from the poor. The Wet Bandits have no backstory, no motivation. They're just the personification of crime to suburbanites and conservatives. And as
They're just criminals. That's it.
So they're just criminals then. Okay.
Yeah, those people exist.
And you say conservative like it's a bad thing, or you say robbing from conservatives like it's a good thing.
It's because it's the other side. He's a fascist. Everybody has to be on his side. Nobody has to be not on his side, and nobody has to be against his side.
If you're not with us, you're against us.
Yeah,
no matter what.
would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
That is the
that's
gist of
definitely their
Mussolini's description
mentality.
of fascism.
And even if you're on their side, there's no guarantee of protection.
As the
Yeah.
90s rolled on and the US became more and more paranoid about crime, the Wet Bandits were exaggerated even further. From mere cat burglars in the suburbs in Home Alone 1 to despicable
Paranoid about
monsters
crime.
in Home Alone 2. The Home Alone movies give us a picture of crime so bizarrely, cartoonishly exaggerated that it's easy to say, hey, screw those guys, give them the chair.
I mean,
No,
and
I
he'll
don't
bring
think these two guys deserve the chair.
He'll bring this
I
up.
think just lock him up.
He'll bring this up here in a minute, but they follow Kevin here.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, it's become personal.
yeah, for them, this is a personal thing. So Kevin has the right to defend himself.
But this cartoon world isn't the real world. It's just what the movie wants you to see. Cat burglars as irredeemable villains who go from zero to child murder very quickly. In the real world, I just don't think lethal violence should be employed in so broad a scenario as a guy walking toward a garage.
Yeah, and in that scenario, there would
That's
be no need.
And
yes.
And it's more than
that's-
likely that the guy that shot him went to jail.
Yes.
But in this scenario, in Home Alone 2, where the thieves actively pursue Kevin with the intent to harm him, what he does is defend himself.
Yes, these things are not the same.
I've been the victim of crimes before. Someone tried to break into my apartment back when I lived in Baltimore.
And
Okay.
did you give him all your stuff?
Yeah. Did you just let them in and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, here, like, have at it. Just take it"? Did you call the police?
Or did you just pull down your pants and present them your butthole?
Another time, and this is true, someone took a package off my doorstep, which was going to be a Christmas present.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh, you seem agitated. You sound angry, Renegade Cut. I hear emotion from you so rarely, which is what makes it. He's very anhedonic. You barely hear emotion from him as well. It's that's why it stuck out so much to me that he was laughing about the threat towards Kevin, and here you see you hear a faint sound of anger in his voice.
Mhm.
So he is pissed that this thing was taken, that the present was taken. Kevin is protecting the presents for his family, people he cares about. But Renegade Cut here shows anger because a present that he meant for somebody else was
Or
stolen.
meant for him.
Or whatever. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he actually has somebody he can give a gift to.
I had an actual Home Alone 2 Wet Bandit experience. The package was recovered, but you know what? Even if it hadn't, I still don't think I should.
Wait. Is he talking about two different events, or is he
Yeah,
calling?
these are two different events.
Okay, so
At one time, someone tried to break into his apartment while he was living in Maryland, and then I'm guessing at a different time, someone stole a package off his porch.
So because I am at the
But
point where I've seen
again,
so much of his stuff that I could believe that he would call stealing a package from his porch, trying to break into his place. But, if you say, okay, yeah, 2 different events, okay. However, I want to hear more about how was this attempt to break into his home? How did that go? What did he do?
that's a good question.
That's what I want to hear.
And
Did he call the the bastard people?
in the context of, hey, of castle doctrine and everything he's talking about, stealing a package is not the same as breaking into someone's home. Yes, you violated their property and stolen from them, but at that point you're not presenting an active threat. You haven't entered their home with the intent to steal something from inside. You've grabbed something and run off. And yes, that's still someone's property. You've still stolen from them. But I don't need to murder you. I don't need to defend.
Renegade Cut. Yeah, maybe that person was poorer than you.
Yeah.
Maybe that person is now happier. And there's more net happiness in the world because that person has the thing now.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that better? Isn't that what you want?
Kill the guy to get my package back. Speaking of Home Alone 2, what the heck is up with Home Alone 2? Kevin is accidentally separated from his family again and has a New York vacation by defrauding a fancy hotel. I would say, cool, stick it to the man, but this is just the rich robbing the rich, so I don't know who I'm supposed to be.
Shut the fuck up, dude. It's a joke. It's funny. Just laugh at it.
You just hate the rich. And that is the truth about socialists. They don't love the poor. They just hate the rich. They hate those who are richer than them. It's envy. It's pure envy and jealousy. Nothing else. He does not have a love for the poor. As we heard, when his stuff was stolen, he sounds pissed. He does not have love for the poor criminal who took his stuff, that poor proletariat guy or girl. He is angry. He is not the very virtuous being that he wants us all to be. He's just jealous of the people richer than him.
Here,
just like George Orwell said.
For Tim Curry, but that's just by default. Kevin bumps into the Wet Bandits, who admittedly tried to kill him immediately. Kevin learns Harry and Marv are going to rob a toy store and takes it upon himself to stop them by luring them to an empty home.
And they follow him.
Mm-hmm.
They also attempt to murder him. Like, when they catch him. So, everything Kevin does is justifiable. They also actively pursue him with the intent to do him harm.
Under renovation, where he has set up some new traps. Kevin does not live in this home in New York. It belongs to his never-seen uncle, the same man who hosted them in Paris. Kevin has no real claim to the home, and even if he could argue that it belongs to his extended family, the Wet Bandits have no design on it. Kevin lures them to this building. Castle doctrine may not come into play here. It's not even a stand-your-ground state. It takes place in New York.
It's a fucking movie. Calm the fuck down.
It's a movie, but still, this is Kevin defending himself in the best way he knows how. Because he's basically been told, or he has encountered these people before, and he knows that they have a grudge against him. So him running to a location and defending himself at that location is self-defense. Like, these people are presenting an active threat to him.
Castle doctrine laws, but not stand your ground. And that's bad news for Kevin because his traps are so much more deadly this time around. Kevin throws bricks at Marv's head over and over again. And Marv just
just like Antifa.
Yeah. Or need we turn to the bike lock man?
Like, this should have killed him many times over, but I guess he has Homer Simpson's disease, where he can't even be knocked out. Good for him, I guess. I mean, that's a solid condition to have if you're in a life of crime. If I could just take a detour to this different but still related topic of how the poor are portrayed in Home Alone 2, that's a...
Okay, this entire
Renegade Cut,
section.
you've never been outside. Where do you even fucking live? You've never met hobos?
But more than that, this is for all told from the perspective of what, a 10-year-old
Yeah,
in
and
a
the
ju-
city I'm in doesn't even have 1 million people in it. And we have hobos who walk around with all their belongings in a supermarket cart. And like a what's it called, an umbrella, sun umbrella thing on top to give them shade on as they go. Even this city has that, and I'm in Germany.
Yikes, that's a big yikes.
Renegade Cut, I've been on the street for a year of my life. I've met these people. I've met the good people, the good hobos, and I've met the crazies that the good hobos don't want to deal with because they're fucking crazy. You can find a lot of wisdom out there. You can find a lot of kindness out there. And you can find a lot of crazy that you don't want to deal with. This is not a caricature. Women much worse than her exist out there. But you are a communist. You don't know anything about being poor. You don't know anything about hard work. You only know how to be an asshole to others.
So in Home Alone 2, Kevin is briefly forced to live among the poor after he's been caught defrauding this hotel. Oh God, Donald Trump. Why are you connected to everything that's bad?
Home Alone 2 is a really good movie.
Anyway, he can't stay at the hotel anymore, so he more
not
or
a
less...
socialist.
So Trump is connected to everything that's bad.
Yes.
Trump is not connected to socialism.
Trump
I
did-
think that venerates him somewhat, at
Apparently,
least.
Trump did 9/11.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trump did
Trump
rocket
apparently did the
bombing.
gas chambers.
Trump did Krakatoa.
Trump did Genghis Khan.
With someone is like meeting an eldritch abomination. Kevin stumbles upon a
Wow.
homeless person who laughs maniacally at him like he's, I don't know, planning to eat his fingers or something. You know,
Yeah, those exist.
Yeah,
I do want to
again.
eat your fingers.
He's also a child. He's probably freaked
Yeah.
the fuck out.
And
This-
and there are those that play that in order to scare off children so that they don't do shit like this.
that common thing. And then Kevin is propositioned by
Yeah,
two...
Renegade Cut, that is a thing. Seriously, there are hobos out there that would do that. You idiot!
And yeah, I think
You ivory tower idiot! Sorry, there's no better way to say this. I
No.
don't think it's
Way to
worth to
dehumanize
phrase this
sex
better.
workers, Home Alone 2.
Oh, right. Dehumanizing sex workers. We don't want to do that.
what do
How
people
is this
call them,
dehumanizing sex workers?
Why do they even call them that? Just call them prostitutes.
Yeah.
Like,
How is this dehumanizing them? These look fairly well kept, even.
They tease him. That's it.
Mm-hmm. What is
I mean,
dehumanizing about this?
Yeah, I think the whole point of this scene is just Kevin trying to learn to appreciate having his family. Because at the beginning of the movie, he's happy to be away from them.
Yeah,
And
all
he
I see.
realizes how dangerous the world is away from them.
Yeah, all I see when people like him talk about this, dehumanizing sex workers, he immediately says that the moment they are on screen. So the only way to not dehumanize sex workers would be to never show them. But then we would be erasing them, wouldn't we? You can't win with these assholes.
I mean, I realize this was made last century, but still. They basically make a mildly indecent come on and then laugh at him. Kevin then encounters
Yeah,
a
they're
humble
teasing
taxi
him.
driver who is visually framed like a demon. I get that we're seeing this from a child's perspective.
Exactly.
yes.
Yes.
Correct, sir. That's
Yeah.
it.
Is he going to complain because this guy has a darker complexion?
No, I think he's complaining that the way Home Alone 2 projects poor people is not right because they're just victims of the capitalist system.
So all workers are poor?
But even still,
I'm telling you, under socialism, all workers are poor.
this is from a 9-year-old's perspective on him being shoved out basically into the cold by a place he thought he was secure, and figuring and not knowing where he's going, not having anyone to rely on, no one he can call. Like, he is very much a young child shoved into a very dangerous situation. So having that communicated to the audience via darker shadows, the creepy angles, like, that's good cinematography.
Yes.
But it's also the audience's perspective now, right?
Yes, but the writer determines.
It's the child's perspective. We're seeing it through his perspective.
Yeah, like that's what perspective is, Renegade.
The worst instance of this is when Kevin befriends the pigeon lady, who is somehow both the heart of the film and is never given a name. I recognize that Kevin learns to trust the pigeon lady despite her appearance, and that's part of the movie and part of the message of the movie, but that message is undermined by everything else that happens. You can't say that's the point when the point is obscured.
He says, having spent this entire video attempting to obscure the point.
The pigeon lady's origin
I'm
story
confused.
is that she's homeless because she had a bad relationship once, and now she just doesn't trust people. No reference to our stratified economic system or income inequality. Nope.
Why would you need that? Renegade Cut, this is a perfectly fine reason to end up like this. When things go too extreme. It doesn't all need to be about the economic system. And by the way, under socialism, she would have been euthanized because she is a detriment to the system. End of story. Your system would have already disposed of her. I'm so sick of these people portraying themselves as the angels of society, as our saviors, when all they bring about is, in truth, when they really get the chance to, is death, because they think they preside over the judgment of who is worthy to live and who is worthy to die only. So
my thing with this is, like, why does it have to be something economic that pushed her this far? Like, why is it that we need to that the homeless person in the children's movie needs to explain that because capitalism is bad, I got shoved out onto the street, instead of I lost the ability to trust those around me in my life to be there for me, so I would rather live like this.
Just had one bad breakup. The implication.
I don't necessarily think so.
Like, there are sillier things in life.
Yeah. Also, you don't know. She says, "Yes, I had a bad relationship, and so I lost trust in people." That
could mean anything.
Yeah, that could mean any number of things. Like,
could be rape.
She could have been. Yeah, she could have been raped by her husband or someone she thought close to her. And
could have been that it was a sex trafficking ring she fell into.
Like, there could be so much more context for that, but but she only needs to explain, like, hey, I get it, but here's the thing. It's a little late for me to start changing who I am, but you're still young, your family loves you, will have some faith in return.
Here is that the pigeon lady is homeless by choice. Okay, so according
those people exist.
Yeah.
I've met them. They exist. And the original punks were like that. They rejected the system. They didn't take any money from the state because that would make them dependent on the system. They wanted to be outside the system. The later generations of punks are just idiots who think the look is stylish and it's being against society's norms, which is not what it was. It was a very ascetic lifestyle. There was no drugs involved, including cigarettes and coffee. Not even that. But nobody knows about that anymore. Punk is now just being a communist. And since communists are the status quo, well, how are punks against the system now? How does that work? I've heard that in some punk societies in the United States, that the punks are now what you could call that more, as they want to be counterculture, is that they're starting to adopt conservative values. Because that is the counterculture now, to be conservative. Because all the socialist crap has become the dominant culture. This has become the status quo. Renegade Cut, your side is on the winning streak for a long time. You're not even noticing it. You still think you're the underdog.
Well, to be fair, this came out 2 years ago, so they hadn't won as much as they had before.
The National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty, the top 4 causes of homelessness among families in the United States are lack of
Okay, what does this have to do with Castle Doctrine?
I don't know. He's just talking about random shit now. And probably to pad his video above 20 minutes or something. And and causes of homelessness among individuals. Some of those people, so do you have the ones that are homeless by choice? And then you have the crazies whom you can't get into homes. They are too crazy. They will not stick. They will piss in the corners and then leave again. And then sleep in the park. You can't help them. It doesn't work. And they don't want your help. It's just a thing. And yes, they freeze to death in winter. Oh, it's sad, but yeah.
And low
you can put all the services towards them that you want. It won't change them.
Found that the top 4 causes of homelessness among unaccompanied individuals, like the Pigeon Lady, for example, were lack of affordable housing, unemployment, poverty, and lack of mental health services. So this should be obvious, but people are homeless for economic reasons.
Not necessarily.
Not
That
necessarily.
wasn't the only
Maybe by
thing,
choice.
Renegade Cut. You said yourself it wasn't the only thing. It doesn't mean that this is an and compilation. This is an and or compilation. These factors can be present. Several of these factors can be present at the same time or just individual ones. But it doesn't mean that every one encompasses economic reasons. The reason I was on the street was not for economic reasons at all. And I'd like to at least not right now get into that because it's a pretty tough topic. But it was never for economic reasons.
That's right. I'm making this about capitalism.
We always knew you would, but
you did
go
so from
ahead.
the start, fucking asshole.
Our current economic
Because all you can think of.
stratifies people into economic classes and both allows and encourages the hoarding of wealth. People like the Pigeon Lady are homeless because Kevin's family and guys like this aren't taxed enough to provide mental health services.
Wrong.
What?
Incorrect.
Renegade Cut. The mental health services paid for by tax money are fucking fraudulent crap that just abuses more people who are in need of help because they're vulnerable. So narcissists and sadistic psychopaths end up running these companies. I've been through them. You're better off without them. Yes, there's probably one good one out there somewhere. Yeah. Sadly, I haven't met it yet. You fucking idiot. You know nothing about the real world. And just putting up these services doesn't even mean that the people on the street know they exist. You know why I kept being on the street? Because I wanted to work myself up myself. I wanted to get on my own 2 feet. And I knew that at the moment I would accept help from the state, the drive to do that would just die down because it's just not that important. It's well, not important, but it's way harder. And they would put you, or me in that case, on through measures that would just be excruciating and soul crushing. Because the way people like me have to find work is basically by becoming independent. And that is one of the hardest things to do. You couldn't put me to a conveyor belt. I got crazy within a week. Tried it. Can't do it. I think people who can do that, there's something amazing about them. I think it's great that they exist, because without them, our society would break down. Well, you Renegade Cut, I don't think you ever even tried. The services out there, most of them are crap. Most people don't even know what they can afford. There's a saying about Germany's social security system, because many of the people in it are essentially exploited by the state. The thing is, it's about maybe 3% of people who do know the laws and the regulations and know what their rights are and what they can file for in support, without the state being able to do anything against it. They have to give them, and you can end up with way more money than most working class people if you know what to do. And the thing is, if just 10% would know all of that and claim all of that, our social security system would break down completely. In part, that is, of course, because of the social security fraud often committed by illegal immigrants and long-term generational immigrants who never worked in their life through their generations. And they could, but they don't. Because the money you get out of the system is just so much that if I worked for the same money, I would have less. Because all the time is gone. That's the simple logic of it. Renegade Cut, you don't fucking know how reality works.
Because aforementioned low wages are the result of a lack of collective power and collective ownership. But sure.
No. Low wages are a result of endless, unchecked immigration. It's what the neoliberals want as well. It's why you have an overlap with them. Because if you have an ever-extending need for work, wages will go down because people will work for less and less and less. And that makes the working class more impoverished. You're not actually helping anyone. And that also means that this working class is also paying less taxes. So the tax funds that go into Social Security for all those other unemployed people and illegal immigrants and fake asylum seekers, and which also hurts the actual asylum seekers, the legitimate refugees, that is less and less. You can't just print money. That just creates more inflation. Printing more money doesn't create more value to go around. But I'm getting a bit off topic. The thing is, all the policies you socialists, your ilk comes up with, impoverishes more people and weakens not only your very own country and your very own people and just plays into the pockets of the rich, but instead, not instead, but furthermore, also weakens the very countries where these immigrants are coming from, because they don't have this workforce anymore. All you do is impoverish people. Socialist policies are not social. They are, in fact, antisocial. But you all work on wishful thinking. And that's how you keep going with the same points over and over again, never ever doing a reality check.
Sure, Home Alone 2. The pigeon lady just needs a new attitude and a pep talk from Kevin McAllister. And then she can just decide not to be homeless because she individually has power over our global economic system.
Isn't this her home?
Okay.
This place with all the bird cages?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are programs that homeless people can get into that can help put or get them on their feet.
Yeah, and in Germany, not a single person needs to be homeless.
And he doesn't say...
You go to the authorities here and you say, I don't have a home, you will get one. But we have a lot of homeless people because they don't want, either they don't want a home or they don't want to take anything from the state because they despise it so much. They rather be homeless than to take any handouts from a system they think corrupt. But technically, nobody in Germany needs to be homeless, which is why illegal immigrants love us so much. Sorry, you were saying?
I was saying something. I forgot. Hold on. Let me...
He has power over our global economic system.
Kevin doesn't say that and magically have her turn her life around. It's gonna take a little bit of work. But, having someone put their faith in her might just help her sort of overcome that idea that everyone's going to stab her in the back. That might help.
Okay. In conclusion, and in summation, if Home Alone were real, I would sympathize with Kevin because, he's a child, and the Wet Bandits are not to be trusted. But Kevin and his antagonistic relationship with the Wet Bandits hits a little too close to home because of the incredible rights granted to homeowners to kill anyone who trespasses on their property. Home Alone is a very conservative film about an amorphous crime threat trespassing in a neighborhood where they don't belong. And
What does
how
that have to do with being a conservative?
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that the vast majority of people working on this movie are left-leaning.
Is he not trying to say that these are illegal immigrants in need of your wealth and you should just give it to them?
You could take that interpretation. Or you could also take the interpretation that just because they're not of the same economic they're not at the same economic level, they deserve to break into the McAllister home and steal whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are poor.
Yeah, so
Or
the
we
poor
assume them
are
to be
allowed to
poor.
violate human rights of others. Or just the relatively poorer. Because we don't know what places these two are living in. Maybe they're disguised. Maybe they already made a lot of wealth by the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
And probably not, but since he loves hypotheticals so much, all these things could be true. This is just the quote in quotation marks working attire, so that you don't easily trace back who they really are in their non-criminal lives.
There are people that make millions just begging on the side of the road, and they go home and they have limos and shit.
Yeah. And yeah, and you don't go burglaring in your favorite t-shirt. It's kind of stupid.
And virtuous the suburban families are for violently defending themselves against these outsiders. It's still a really good movie, don't at me, but it's also a kind of family-friendly revenge fantasy.
It's not a
It's not a revenge
fantasy.
fantasy.
They have to have done something to him first for him to do it.
Yes.
Make it revenge.
Yes. Kevin only very slowly, step by step, escalates because they keep coming. He starts completely non-violent with deterrence.
And even then, even as he escalates, he still has deterrence on the exterior of the home. The ice on the home, on the steps, the hot door handle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like he does all of this to be like, don't come in here.
Mm-hmm.
Merry Christmas. It's November.
Your parents have flown, now you're home alone. What now?
Why would you give this guy money?
I don't know. People are stupid. Anyway.
Very. Yeah, sorry to have dragged this out so much.
Oh
No,
no, you're good.
fine, man.
Yeah, you made
But-
you made this a very fun discussion.
Thank you for joining us, Wisp.
No problem.
And as for our lovely viewers, thank you all for watching. We will see you all probably towards the end of December, I think, is when we're going to be back.
Yeah, if not, then January.
Yeah. So, y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Yeah, take care.
Yeah, have a good time. Bye.
Bye.